Welcome everybody to Advanced Webinars, QuickBooks Updates, Q1 2025. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that link into the chat. So if you want to access the slides, you can go ahead and download them. There's not that much stuff in the slides. Most of the stuff will be done in product, but if you want to get access to the slides, you can do that in there. So just look into the live Zoom chat or the description below if you are watching this on YouTube later. You can download the slides as well. So table of contents, today we're going to talk about, we're going to spend about 15 minutes talking about some Intuit and industry related news. Then we'll spend another 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, talking about what's going on in the QuickBooks online world in terms of new features and changes and all of that stuff. Then we're going to spend maybe the most amount of time talking about Intuit Enterprise Suite, which is the mid-market product that's supposed to be differentiated from the QuickBooks products. And we're going to talk about the consolidated multi-entity reports that's available in there. Actually, it's going to be fascinating to see all of those features in there, just because it's a big departure from what QuickBooks Online does or what it's limited to. And then we'll briefly talk about some new upcoming updates that are coming to QuickBooks Desktop 2024. I saw an announcement and I saw screenshots and they took them down. So we'll just keep it as an announcement because it hasn't been updated in my latest version of QuickBooks Desktop. So we'll talk about those three really quick and what that looked like. So when you're expecting the latest update to have those three little improvements. So let's get started with Intuit industry related news. So first of all, biggest conference of the year that I will be involved with, my conference is Reframe 2025. It will be in Miami, in Coral Gables, exactly Miami, Florida, November 2nd to the 4th. It'll be hosted by myself and my brother Carlos. It would be at the Lowe's Hotel. We have a block rate for $279 a night. The theme of the conference is pricing with confidence. Pricing with confidence. We're going to teach people how to create value for the customers, how to have confidence to price high, and how to present their services so they get paid what they're worth. We have three speakers, Blair Enns, Trisha Browers, Ron Baker, and we have more. It's going to be a maximum of 150 people. We have 109 tickets sold as of today, and we will max out or cap out at 150. Ticket price is $2,000. They won't go into discount. So if you want to be part of this experience, make sure to get your tickets before we sell out. Reframe2025.com. I'll see you in Miami in November. So let's talk about some really quick. I just want to plug in a couple of upcoming webinars. So tomorrow, if you're watching this live, tomorrow, Friday the 21st at 12 p.m., I'm doing a 90-minute session on how to get started with AI in CPA Academy. It's a free webinar, and we're going to start with ChatGPT from scratch, and we're going to just help all accounting professionals that maybe haven't had the time to play with AI to start using it from the very beginning. So they get basically an A through Z AI 101 class with that. So if you're watching this live, this will be tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern via CPA Academy. If you're watching the recording of this recorded webinar later on, you might have to just catch the recording of that session as well. And also on March 18th, I'm doing advanced AI tools. So the first one's going to be the most basic class I ever taught. And the one on March 18th will be the most advanced class I ever taught. We're going to bring in the concepts of agents and real automations that we can start engaging with AI and possibly maybe even incorporating it into our accounting practice. So we have those two upcoming CPE eligible webinars there. And also just, be watching out for a virtual conference. We're going to do a virtual version of last year's Reframe called Influential Conversations. It's going to be somewhere between April 16th and the 30th. Carlos and I, we're still working out the details. So just watch out for the emails and the announcements for that if you want to be part of that virtual event coming up after tax season. Other upcoming webinars worth mentioning, it's if you're watching this live, literally the minute that this webinar ends, QuickBooks in the Know happens. They do monthly webinars where they update people on new features having to do with QuickBooks. They're a little bit different than my webinars. My webinars are a little bit more honest and transparent about the things that work and don't work and that sort of thing. And I bring in other aspects to it. But QuickBooks does a really good job at every month kind of discussing what's new in the QuickBooks world. So definitely join those as well. So they do them monthly. My advanced webinars are quarterly. Once a quarter, we happen to coincide on the same day. We just have it ours is at 1 p.m. Eastern and theirs is 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you check that, and all the links are in the slides. And they also announced a level 2 certification for pro advisors. So if you are a regular pro advisor, not an advanced pro advisor, which is what they used to be called before, you can become a level 2, which is the new label that they've given to the advanced pro advisor certification. So if you're just a regular pro advisor where you pass a simple exam and you're having a tough time passing the level 2, which is a much more complex exam, there's a multi-day virtual conference that gives you the entire prep course to become level 2 pro advisor. So check that out as well. Okay, let's move on to some industry news. This has been kind of an annoyance that we've been having to deal with, especially accounting professionals and our clients asking us, well, probably they got tired of asking us, but the beneficial ownership information, which is a report that we have to send to the Financial Crimes and Enforcement Division of the U.S. Treasury, was supposed to kick in this year. And back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There was a lawsuit, there was injunctions, there was whatever the other legal terms are that kind of stop things from happening, kept delaying the process. And the latest news, and you can actually click on the link in the slides. And again, if you want access to all these links, you have to download the slides. I'm only going to provide them in there. There's the announcement from February 18th, where they have extended the deadline. It's back on, basically. There's a requirement again to go to BOI. And now March 31st is a new deadline. It's kind of sad that this is happening in the middle of tax season. A lot of us are way too busy to have another weird deadline in the middle of tax season. But all these companies that were created prior to 2025, they have to do their FinCEN reporting by March 21st. I have a video on my YouTube channel that walks you through the process on how to actually file the form. But this is the new super annoying thing that we have to deal with. So again, if you want access to any of these links, I put in the live chat a link to the slides, and all the links are inside the slides. Other thing I want to announce is RightTool Pro. We got any RightTool Pro users in the house? Put it in the chat. If you're a RightTool Pro user, we'd love to see who is our RightTool contingency. But we added a really, really nice feature that I think is going to be a game changer to a lot of accounting professionals. Like, I seriously think this is going to be a big game changer. So if you haven't seen the reconciliation dashboard, you're in for a treat, because it was a really, really good sort of coming on of visions that we've had. So the premise is you have to have RightTool installed, right? This is a Chrome extension that loads into your browser, and it loads up when QuickBooks Online loads up. It looks like this on the right-hand side. It's a little navy blue navigation bar on the right-hand side, and there's a free version and there's a pro version. The pro edition, every time we create a new feature, we put it here under Experiments Pro. So we're going to turn on this feature called Reconciliation Dashboard. So the reconciliation dashboard basically activates inside of the chart of accounts. And what we're solving for is, generally, when you go into the chart of accounts, you have some information about your accounts, like you have your QuickBooks balance, you have your bank balance, but you don't have information like, when were these accounts last reconciled? And if you log in if you're an accountant and you log into your client's books, you can go into Client Overview. And in Client Overview, you get this information, but then you don't get other piece of information. So it's like all the data that you need about all your accounts, especially if you log in once a month and you're gonna do your monthly closing, where you want to see which banks you're gonna work on and which ones you're gonna start and all that stuff. Unfortunately, you have to go to a lot of different places. You have to go to Client Overview, or maybe go into Books Review and go to Account Reconciliation, and then from here choose which accounts you want to see. So like the information, it's, in my opinion, all over the place. Okay, so all this information, it's all over the place in multiple screens, which to me is a little bit annoying. So because we live in the chart of accounts very much, and that's where most accounting professionals go to first to do any sort of work, we added this feature here called the reconciliation dashboard. And again, you have to have RightTool installed, and you have to have the Pro Edition. So when you click on reconciliation dashboard, you're going to have a little pop-up. Let me refresh the screen really quick. You're going to have a little pop-up that shows up, and basically will will fetch all the information about all your banks and credit cards. And we're working on adding more reconcilable accounts, like the liability accounts or asset accounts and that sort of thing. But for now, it's just focused on the banks and credit cards. So once you see that button there, the reconciliation dashboard, you click on that button. And once you click on that button, you get this little pop-up screen. And in this pop-up screen, you get a list of all the active accounts. Give me a second. Somebody's saying that my screen's not sharing. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Why is my screen not sharing? Yeah, sorry. I don't know what's going on here. Give me a second. Zoom is giving me an error. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen now? Sorry about that. So it looks like we're back on. Okay. So anyway, so when you click on that reconciliation dashboard, you get this little pop-up window that essentially shows you all your bank and credit card accounts. And we compiled all the information across all those different screens that are relevant for someone that kind of just needs a dashboard to see what's going on with all the accounts and what account I should work on next. So for example, this account here called cash, it was last reconciled 2021, February 28th. This account here called BOA Super Duper Checking was last reconciled 2023, June 30th. And then in the same line, we get information about if there's any discrepancy, right? So for example, I can click here where it says hide 0 discrepancies, and then I can basically only show accounts that have a discrepancy. And what does discrepancy mean? So if I click on that number, any of that number, if I click on that number, it takes me to the reconcile screen that shows me where there's a discrepancy. So it points out which accounts have a pending discrepancy in there. So you don't have to click on reconcile on each one to see whether or not you have a discrepancy, and it opens that in a new tab. Okay, so it's a good overview of what's going on with all your accounts. Also, there's live links here. So if I click on any of these live links, it opens a new tab and it goes into the particular register of that account. So obviously that's pretty logical there. And then we have these two lines here that are very useful too. We have in-bank feeds and unreconciled. So for example, this one called in-bank feeds means that if I click on that, I'm going to open a new tab, go into the bank feed screen, and then I should see those 5 transactions that haven't been coded yet. So it's basically just kind of keeps track of whatever transactions are sitting on this screen, again, all from the same dashboard. And then these here that say unreconciled, if you click on that 9 unreconciled, what it does is it opens a new tab. It goes into the register of that account, but then automatically filters them and shows you only the transactions that haven't been reconciled prior to the last reconciliation date. You have to get that to work. You have to also turn on the register screen here called preset filter register. It has to be used in combination. So that preset filter register is a manual way to achieve that. So if you go into the register and you only want to see transactions that haven't been cleared or reconciled, that haven't been cleared before that date, then that will do that for you automatically. So let me open the dashboard again. So that's the value of those direct links. So it's basically one screen where you see all your banks and credit cards. It checks all the last reconciled dates. It checks for discrepancies. It checks for pending transactions. It checks for unreconciled transactions. And then from this screen, you can reconcile any of these. So essentially it's your one-stop shop for all your things regarding reconciliation. Now, as you see the screen and as you use it, I would love to hear any feedback of how it is useful. What is it missing? How can this be even more useful? But this is an idea I had like a month ago, and we made it happen pretty quickly. There's filters here to hide transactions that have never been reconciled, for example. That way you only look at transactions that have been reconciled. If you click on hide 0 register, it hides all the ones that are zero. That way you're not focused on transactions that are 0, because sometimes there's a lot of transactions there that are 0. You can filter up here whether you want to see bank only or credit card only. And here under the columns button, you can pick and choose which columns you want to see. So if you think that the screen's a little bit crowded, you can remove some data points there if you don't need them. if you click on export to CSV, you can export that and opens up an Excel spreadsheet. And in that Excel spreadsheet, you can print that or whatever, right? So like some people want to print the reconciliation dashboard because they'll use it for the work papers or whatever to kind of see where they were at any point in time. So yeah, so this is something that was my idea. It was created by the developers at RightTool, and then we will move on. So if you don't have RightTool, just go to righttool.app and you download that Chrome extension into it. Now, unfortunately, it only works on your client's accounts. It won't work on your own books because QuickBooks doesn't give us access to to those reconciliation data points on accountant's books. It has to be on client books only. So anyway, let's move on to that. So for those that already use RightTool, I hope you enjoy the feature. For those that haven't yet, go ahead and at least get the free version and start enjoying what it has. And then you can, at some point, enjoy the dashboard. Okay, let's talk about the new report screen. So there was a screen that was slightly changed. I'm not against the change per se, because it is kind of interesting. So they did a couple of things. This little report search box, it used to be on the right-hand side. So they moved it to the left-hand side. That doesn't bother me at all. They changed the terminology up here. So this was called reports, or it was called reports list, or I don't remember at this point what it was called. Now they call it standard reports, and also the URL changed. So if you have any bookmarks that you created with the old, let me just remove this here. It'll be easier to see. So up here, the URL changed. So if you have any bookmarks for any of these pages, they have all changed. So you have to make sure that if you have, again, you have any direct bookmarks going into management reports or the performance center or custom reports or standard reports, all of those have changed. So just keep in mind. So there's a new reports menu. And what's also cool about it is there's a sub menu. So like when you go in reports, now you have the 4 options under it too. So before you had to click on reports and then click on the top, to switch. Now you can go straight into any of those, and you can also make any of these bookmarks. So if you click on the little bookmark button, it bookmarks it and adds it to your bookmark list. Okay, so it's now all these specific destination or reports are now bookmarkable. Okay, all right. So that's really pretty much the only thing that they changed in there. Let's talk about some other things that they've been changing. I want to talk about Intuit Assist for estimates and invoices. Now, I'll confess that I'm not actively using this, but I want to walk through how this works. So when you actually, let's go into the home screen here for a second. Let's go into the home screen. So with the new Intuit Assist, I gotta find out where this is. Actually, I gotta switch to a company file that has it enabled. Let me switch into a company file that has the Intuit Assist. So you should see, let me see one second. Where's my, okay. So you see up here, business feed. This is my Intuit Assist, or anything that has to do with AI. You will see that button up there that says business feed. So that's when you know Intuit Assist is enabled. So you have to have, your file has to be enabled, and they don't enable every file automatically. When you click on business feed, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff that kind of looks like noise. But here where it says autofill, you have bill, expense, invoice, estimate. So they added, so we've seen expense and bill quite a bit, but we haven't seen invoice and estimate. And these two, they work in a very sort of an interesting way. So what you can do is you can recreate an invoice, so to speak, by uploading something that kind of looks like an invoice, and it'll start to detect some of these things. So we'll experiment in the webinar live to kind of see what this looks like. So let's go into, I'm going to go into my email, and I'm going to email myself. I want to email myself something. So I want to email myself. Actually, let me go back into QuickBooks really quick. Okay, so let's see our customer list. I'm gonna see my customer list here, and let's say Chris Smith. Okay, so Chris Smith, and let me just see actual something that we have invoiced before, just so we can get some familiarity. So we invoice cash flow management. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna write here, hi, Hector, I am Chris Smith. Please invoice me some cash flow management services for February for $2,000. Now, is this realistic? Is a customer going to do something like this? No, but I'm just kind of explain to you what the context of this is, right? So you get any sort of documentation. It could be an email, it could be a PDF, it could be a document of any sorts. And then you get this email. I said, for example, I'm going to print it. So I'll print this thing. So I'll basically, this becomes a PDF. So I'll save this as a PDF somewhere in my computer. And then what we're doing now is I'm going to go into QuickBooks, and then I'm going to say autofill an invoice. And then I'm going to click on file, and then I'm going to upload that PDF. And again, sometimes it'll be clear with text. Sometimes it'll be a random PDF. Sometimes it'll be a contract. And then what this is supposed to do, and again, I don't actively use this because I haven't seen it to be super, super useful. But what it's supposed to do is supposed to detect certain elements of the invoice. So for example, it detected Chris Smith. So it did that. And it literally read that from the email. And then it read cash flow management, and it put $2,000 in there. That all happened automatically from reading that document. Now, is it going to be that clear? No. So let's get a little bit fancier. So let's say I'm going to do Nancy, okay? And then let's do something else. Let's do analysis. Okay. So we're going to do a similar exercise. So I'm going to put here, is go ahead and analyze my March numbers at the end of tax season, and then assign it Nancy. Okay, and I'll email this to myself. I'm going to ask, is this going to be $750 again? Question mark. Okay, so now I'm going to take this email now, and I am going to print it. Again, I'm printing it because I have to create a PDF. It's just the example of illustrating. So let's print this as a PDF here. Great. Okay. And we'll go back into QuickBooks here. We'll close this out. Okay, close this out. Okay, let's go back into the business feed. Let's go to autofill invoice. Again, I'm using the built-in functionality here. So autofill invoice or estimate. Let's do estimate this time. Autofill estimate. And then we'll upload that same document. And then we'll see what happens. So we'll see what happens. So again, this is worth experimenting with because I don't know what the exact science is. We'll see kind of what happens here. Okay, so in this case, because it's my only customer named Nancy, it detected from the sort of this signature that it was Nancy. So that's good in there. And then here it did investment analysis. So remember, I said analyze my numbers. So it picked investment analysis, but it could have been some other analysis account. Again, that's essentially what AI is, right? It tries to detect things. It puts here analyze March numbers at the end of tax season. It put $750, even though it was a question mark, and it used today's date. So this stuff I'm just very excited about contextually what this could mean. Is it a perfect science? No. Are your customers going to like be asking you, invoice me for this or invoice me for that? No. But again, we'll start grabbing some context from emails, and let's see. I'm gonna grab a more complex email so we can just experiment with this. So I'm gonna go into emails I sent where maybe I quoted someone. Let's see if there's any emails here where I quoted someone. Okay, here we go. So like this person asked me a very long question, and at the end I gave them a quote. So I'm gonna print this and see what it detects from it. Okay, so it's actually much more complex, much more long email that contains tons of moving parts, right? And there's a price there somewhere. So let's go up here, And again, we'll go into business feeds. We'll go into estimate. We'll upload this document. We'll see how it reads this. This might take a little longer because it was a much longer email. And again, it is AI. Okay, so this one, okay, there we go. So this one, it kind of almost, so this one did nothing basically. So this one, it was just too complex. It didn't understand it. This one did nothing. And that's the challenge I have with this feature now, is that I don't know what the schema is. I don't know how what the logic is. I don't know what works and what doesn't work. So essentially, it's one big experiment that you have to be uploading different things to see what works. So unfortunately, because that's kind of the way it's functioning now, you're going to be very limited, right? So adding this into your workflow, but not knowing whether it'll work or not, it's not something that necessarily will enhance your, like, it will just make you more productive. Again, not everybody has access to this. You have to, like, you will see it in the top. It will say business feed in the top. So if you don't see business feed, your file is not enabled with this, right? So you can't, there's no magical button you can press to make it work. Some files have it, some files don't. And essentially QuickBooks is experimenting with this stuff. Okay. It works with bills too. It works a little better with bills. So for example, let's go into Google here. And I'm going to go into google.com and let's just download invoice sample PDF. So we'll just grab a random invoice sample here. We'll grab this invoice here. Okay, so just, oh, okay, that didn't work. So let's see if we can just grab a random PDF here from the web. Okay, web, you're not gonna work on me. Just grab something. Okay, so here's a random bill. Okay, a random bill with a bunch of stuff in it. So let's save that. Okay, and then we'll go back into QuickBooks and we'll see what happens. So we're gonna upload this as a bill. Go into files and then go to select and select that. And again, it'll pick up some things. It won't pick up other things. It's again, it's a cool experiment. It's there. You can play with it, but if it doesn't save your time, it's not really that useful. Okay, so this was uploaded. For some reason, it didn't go straight to the file. Sometimes it goes into the receipts dashboard and kind of just sits there while it starts being processed. So if you go into bank feeds and receipts, you will see it there kind of being processed. So it's like invoices process a little faster for some reason. But bills would take a little bit longer, especially when it's a more complex bill. So if you haven't seen a process, it could be sitting here, but or I could try uploading it here again and do the same thing. So it works the same way whether you go through the business assist or if you go into bank feeds. So if you don't see business feeds, sorry. So if you don't see business feeds in the top, one place that you can do it is essentially just upload it from here. And then through this upload, and let's go back into that document, see what this was. Was it this thing here? This is a 400 and something euros, I think it was the number. Okay, I wonder if it thought that was 45,000 because of the comma, of course. So yeah, I think it's this one. I thought of that, and then it does start the process, right? It starts the process of pre-filling at least, the date. So it detected a date there somewhere. It detected the invoice number. So it did pick up some things from it. And then it went straight to uncategorized asset. I mean, inventory asset, which again, is it correct? Is it incorrect? I don't know. It put, it thought it was 400 something euro. I thought it was 45,000 dollars. So again, it's an awesome feature. It's incredible what it can achieve. But I'll repeat this again. I don't think it saves anybody any time, and it's still just a gimmick. But another cool thing about it is that if you go into the receipt section, you go in here where it says the email, and essentially you can do this from a forwarded bill as well. So if I copy that and then go back into my email, and I'll see if someone has here invoice attached. Let's see if anybody sent me an invoice. See if there's any invoice I can grab from here. Maybe some invoice from, like, there you go, from Zoom. Perfect. Okay. So I got this invoice from Zoom. Okay, this is an invoice I got from Zoom. Okay, for my webinars. And then I can come here and I can forward that invoice into that email. And again, every company file is going to have its own unique email. So the workflow can go like that too. It can be in an email and it can be forwarded. So then once you come in here, I'm going to refresh and we should start seeing that Zoom bill come into the receipt screen. Okay, and it might take a few minutes. I'll come into the receipt screen and I'll start getting processed. And then once it gets processed, it goes to the next screen where you choose exactly how you're gonna categorize it. That's another way to go through it. Now, a lot of people ask, what if just random people start emailing me things? You can actually change this from allow everyone to block senders. And if you start getting spam, so don't make this email public, but if you could choose which ones to block. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't have the opposite, which is doesn't have a whitelisting system. It only has a blocking system. So it starts with everyone, any single person that knows this information will be able to forward you documents unless you block them. And then you have one for the sales side too. So same exact example I gave before for invoice creation or estimate creation. Same thing. If you use the sales email instead of the expenses email, it'll do the flow through converting it to an invoice or an estimate and not into a bill or an expense. Okay, good. All right. So if I'm reading the questions, it looks like some people have tried it and some people confirming that it doesn't save them that much time, and some people confirm them that it takes a little bit of a while for email forwards to be processed. Okay, cool. Let's talk about one thing that's really, really important, which is the tags feature. So Intuit announced a couple of months ago about what's going on with the tags feature. And I've been thinking deeply about what's going to happen. How is this going to work? And there's a there's a Firm of the Future article that kind of explains what the transition is going to be. I'm going to try to find the article. Give me a second. I'm going to paste it into the link here. So here's the Firm of the Future article. So this was released in January, so just last month. And eventually in here it says tags will be discontinued. Tags will be discontinued and switching to custom fields on March 8th. So after March 8th, you will no longer be able to add tags to existing transactions or create new tags. Supposedly between February 5th and March 7th, you and your clients can migrate tags to custom field. That's what it says here. The problem is that I'm in QuickBooks now and I don't see the path to do that. So if I go into tags, I don't see a button that says convert my tags into custom fields. Like it's not blatantly clear what that looks like. Okay, so it's not shown here. And if I go into my custom fields screen, there isn't, and I'm just kind of hoping that maybe they added in there, but in the custom field screen, there also isn't a button that says port over my tags. So we're sort of stuck in the fact that they announced that there will be that between February 5th and March 7th. By the way, today, recording this March 20th, I don't see it on my file. Well, we're kind of stuck that we don't see that directly. I'm gonna just switch. Why is my QuickBooks Online being so slow today? So I know. Come on, custom fields, load up. So I want to show you that in the custom field screen, there isn't a workflow for that either. I'm gonna turn off my video for a second. So again, today's recording is March 20th, February 20th, not March 20th. And we're supposed to be within the period where you're supposed to be able to migrate, and there's no evidence that that's available today, or at least in my file that I'm showcasing. Okay, let me go back into my file again, and I'm just gonna go into just QuickBooks is very bad date for QuickBooks to be slow in the middle of a live webinar. But let's go into the custom field screen. And then there's also no path, like there's no button anywhere that says here's how you convert from tags into custom fields. So it just doesn't seem like that promise they made that there will be a pathway to convert, it won't convert. Now I'm going to tell you a couple of concerns that I have, like a really few concerns that I have. Some of the concerns that I have is, are the tags going to transfer into custom fields, and are they going to come in historically? Okay, I don't know. So that part wasn't, again, we'll go back to the Firm of the Future article here. It doesn't say that the historical data inside of the custom fields will come over. So I won't necessarily trust that will happen. Like I won't hold my breath, assuming that the historical data will come in. Let me open up the article again. Okay, here it is. So we'll go through the article again. So the article says, it gave some dates, and then it says, from March 8th to April 30th, you and your clients will have read-only access to your tags. That means that you'll be able to see transactions that are tagged, and you'll be able to print or export reports that contain that tag information. And then after May 1st, tags, the historical data of tags will be removed 100%. Now, as part of trying to appease people that are going to lose, essentially going to lose a capability by losing tags, they're going to add custom field feature after February 2025. They're going to add one custom field to Simple Start. So essentially, if you have one tag group that you were using, that custom field essentially replaces that. The essentials will move from 3 custom fields to 4 custom fields. Plus will move from 3 to 4. So this basically essentials and plus have the same number of custom fields. And then advanced will stay in 12. So essentially all they're doing is adding one more to Simple Start, one more to Essentials, one more to Plus. But the problem is that the way tags work now is you can have up to 300 tags in total, and these tags could have a whole bunch of different tag groups. So for example, in this file, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tag groups, plus ungrouped tags, which I don't even know how they're going to manage that. But we have a bunch of tag groups. So if they kill tags, essentially, and I have, let's say, Simple Start, I can only grab one of these tag groups and port them over to custom fields. If I have Essentials or Plus, I can only grab 4 of these tag groups and move them to custom fields. And then if I have, Advanced, I can grab up to 12 of these. Okay, but again, my main concern is are these going to be available as a dropdown? If they are, that's great. But is the historical tags going to be added? So is every single transaction that had a tag going to add a custom field? And where this adds, to add more complexity to this, is expenses have tags right now. So you can add tags to expenses, but there's no way to add custom fields and expenses if you don't have QBO Advanced. So like I have QBO Advanced, so you get to see this custom fields. But if I switch to a non-advanced file, so I'm going to switch over to this file here, that's a Plus file, you will notice that the expense screen doesn't have custom fields. So how are they going to solve for that? That's also a big question that I have up there. So I don't think they either haven't announced it or they haven't explained it. But right now, if you don't have advanced, like I'll go to the custom field screen so you can see. If you don't have advanced, custom fields are only available in sales transactions, sales receipts, estimates, invoices, credit memos, and refund receipts. So if I have bills, expenses, checks that have tags in it now, how are they going to solve for that? So they would have to add custom field into expense transactions in order for you to have a feature parity. And the other challenge that we have here is profit and loss. So if I pull a profit and loss right now, if I search tag in my profit and loss, there is a profit and loss by tag. That's a report that exists, a P&L by tag. Let's just do all here, all dates, and I'll pick one of this here, this tag here. So so if I have a P&L by tag, but I don't equally have let me just add a transaction here so we can see. Let's add an invoice. Let's add a tag to one of these invoices. Let's go to here and we'll put 2025. Oh, here's my tag here, 2025. And then I'll save that. Okay. And then I'll go to another invoice here, a different invoice. and then I'll tag different. I'll tag this one 2024. Just so that, because that's the tags that we have. And I'll tag this one 2024. That way, when I pull up my P&L by tag, it's just very obvious what this looks like. So I'll go back into my profit and loss. Let's go to tag. Profit and loss by tag. I'll do all dates here. And then I'll do my year tag that I have here. And then we have, this is our tags, right? So we have transactions are in the tags. So right now we have a P&L by tag, but there's no such thing as a P&L by custom field, because if I go run a P&L right now, and again, they would have to add the custom field features to the P&L, like we would have to expect that, and I don't know if that's going to happen, even though it doesn't seem that difficult to do, but they would have to add a custom field option here, which they don't have now. Okay, so there's no true feature parity on these announcements that they made for tags. So I'm really deeply worried about that for people that use tags. Now, good news is, you know, what percentage of your customers use tags? Put it in the chat. I mean, for everybody to kind of like see, like, what percentage of your customers actually use tags, right? So if most of you, like, if you're being honest with yourself, you know, it's a very small percentage. And it could be a situation where you have encouraged tag usage and you know the value of it, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, it's probably 1% or less. But I think it's going to be a challenge. Okay. All right, moving on. Drama alert, right? But moving on. The next thing is actually really good news. So QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online always had the challenge that if you have more than 750 targets, you couldn't do a migration. So let me explain what I mean by that. So if you have QuickBooks Desktop and you hit Control-1 on your keyboard or F2 and you go into the product information screen, you're going to read here where it says total targets. If that number was 750,000 or bigger, you could not do a desktop to online conversion. The good news is now you can do the conversion as long as that number is no more than 1.2 million. So that's a huge win because a lot of people wanting to go from desktop to online have big files. The other thing that's really cool is the new payroll migration. So let me show you this. This just came out in the February edition of Firm of the Future. I haven't done one, but this is actually pretty interesting. So let me show you what the screenshot looks like, and I'll kind of explain the implications of this. Where are we? Or okay, well, it's not shown here, but thought I had seen, apologize, I thought I had seen the payroll migration screenshots. Let me see if it's in the January edition one. But essentially what they're allowing you to do is only migrate payroll or migrate your file without payroll to go into a current payroll file. Okay, here it is. Here's the screenshot. Okay, so so if you have a standalone payroll, if you have standalone payroll already, so not QuickBooks Online plus payroll, standalone payroll, and then you have QuickBooks Desktop just to run your accounting, you can actually migrate with only the accounting data to port into a current payroll data. So that's super interesting. I don't know how they're going to deal with potential duplicate checks. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but that's something that can be done. You couldn't do that before, where you couldn't migrate QuickBooks Desktop data that didn't have payroll into an existing payroll only online SKU. So that's good. And what's also good here is if you only want to bring payroll over, which basically means you don't want to bring any accounting, you just want to bring the payroll portion, you can do that too. So now you have more flexibility where you can bring data without payroll, or you can bring just payroll data over. So that's pretty strong. I haven't done one yet, but I saw that announcement and I think it's worth mentioning. Okay, cool. All right, that's it for the QuickBooks Online stuff. Now let's move over to Intuit Enterprise Suite. So I'm going to show you, if you haven't seen it yet, this is Intuit's version of, let me just log here out. Let me go into my test account. So this is Intuit's version of trying to create a similar enterprise level SKU to the QuickBooks Online platform. Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me log out, log back in here for a second, because I have a very special testing platform for this. So I have to log back in. Give me 1 second. Hold on 1 second. My system is down, so I gotta shut down of Chrome completely and open Chrome again. Super glitchy today. Jeez. Okay, let's see now. See, we'll log in now. It's a very weird special login to this Intuit Enterprise Suite test account. So he goes to a special security check. It takes a couple extra steps. There we go. Okay. So I'm using Intuit Enterprise Suite. Okay. This is the enterprise level version, or what they're calling the mid-market version of the QuickBooks platform. There's a whole bunch of other ways that they're framing that this is different than QuickBooks Online, but in many ways, pretty much is QuickBooks Online, right? You got all the familiarity. You have the new button here. Even though it says Intuit Enterprise Suite, that could just say QuickBooks. You got the gear menu with all this exact same functionality, but there's a lot of extra features that you don't get in the QuickBooks Online platform, where the biggest value proposition is at the moment is on project reports. So for construction companies and multi-entity. So I'm going to click on multi-entity. I'm going to show you all the different things that you can do. So under multi-entity, you have a couple of things that is significantly different than the QuickBooks Online platform. Is one, you can create what's called intercompany journal entries. So when you have multiple companies associated with the Intuit Enterprise Suite, you can create what I'm calling a 3-dimensional journal entry, where basically you pick the entity and the account. And this chart of accounts basically belongs to each of the entities separately. So you come in there and you do your journal entry that goes across multiple entities, and then you do a single journal entry. So a single journal entry that hits both companies immediately. So you don't have to log out of one account to log in into the other account, and you do one journal entry that affects multiple entities, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, doesn't matter how many entities you have. So as many entities as you want, you create a single journal entry in this intercompany transaction journal entry, and you save it. And essentially what happens behind the scenes, I'm gonna do the same dollar amount here, just make sure that we don't have an issue here with the debits and credits balancing. So you do one single big journal entry, all the companies get affected immediately, sort of simultaneously. And then once you save it across multiple files, you don't have to, again, go from one file to the other to do that. So that's value number one. Value number two is called manual eliminations. So I'm going to explain manual eliminations in a second. But before we do that, I'm going to create an intercompany report first. I mean, a consolidated report first. So I'm going to go into a P&L, and there's two entities associated with this grouping in Intuit Enterprise Suite. So when I run the P&L, it's actually going to grab data from two different Intuit Enterprise Suites files, and it's going to give me the P&L for company A and the P&L for company B. Then there's this concept of manual elimination. So if you had experience consolidating reports, essentially one of the most tedious parts of consolidating reports is eliminating sales from one account, costs from one account, just eliminating multiple moving parts that could affect the consolidated financial statement. And again, this is Intuit Enterprise Suite. This is not QuickBooks Online. It looks like QuickBooks Online, but it's Intuit Enterprise Suite. Okay, so Intuit Enterprise Suite has this consolidated reporting feature, right? So it's all built in. It looks like a regular QuickBooks report. Unfortunately, you can't drill down in it because they don't have yet detailed level consolidated reports. Hopefully they'll add that at some point, but at least it saves you having to use a third-party app to consolidate P&Ls and balance sheets with multiple entities. But these eliminations only exist in this report. Okay, so we'll go back now that you get the context. So a manual elimination, basically it's a non-posting journal entry. It's a journal entry only meant to modify the intercompany. So for example, if I want to remove sales from one account, let's say, so I want to reduce my sales, let's say by 65,000, and I want to remove cost of goods sold or whatever from the other account of 65,000, because it happens to be that this company sold to this company, but you don't want to see the sales and the cost, you want to eliminate them manually. You create this manual elimination, which again is a non-posting journal entry. It doesn't have to be balanced. It doesn't have to be balanced. So it could be unbalanced, which is a whole nother slew of challenges here, but it could be an unbalanced entry. So this is balanced. 65 and 65 is balanced, but it's not balanced inside of each company. Okay. It's in contrast with a regular intercompany journal entry that has to be balanced in each company. But this allows you to back it out. Again, non-posting only for the purposes of when you pull the P&L, you're going to see, or whatever report is, right? You're going to see the consolidated report, and then you're going to see under the elimination tabs, you're going to see the removal or the adjustment of whatever numbers that you're adjusting. That way, when you look at the sum of the whole thing, you're not overstating income or overstating costs or whatever works. So again, this is for consolidating multi-company in which they're related parties or they're common ownership group or parent company, child company, that sort of thing. So that's very powerful. We've never ever seen this in the QuickBooks Online world, and this is going to be exclusive to Intuit Enterprise Suite. You can also consolidate balance sheets. One kind of challenge that I have with the consolidated balance sheets with the and I want to say that up front, this is something that QuickBooks needs to fix, is that because of these manual eliminations, there's a possibility that your total assets and your total liabilities in a consolidated report won't match, because you're allowed to create non-posting, non-balanced manual eliminations. It's possible that your summed up, your total combined of the two won't match because of the manual elimination. So each individual balance sheet will match for each entity, but the consolidated won't, potentially, because you may have an error in those eliminations. So that's a really important thing to point out. And there's a lot of other features that QuickBooks has. I mean, the Intuit Enterprise Suite has beyond the consolidated reports, but that's essentially the biggest one. Okay, so let's wrap things up. Some of you guys have to go to the next webinar, so that's totally okay. Again, if you want a copy of those slides, I'll put them in the chat one more time. And let's go to the last slide here. What I want to do is I want to show you what's coming in QuickBooks Desktop. So there are 3 things that were announced that are coming into QuickBooks Desktop 2024. And this is, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be released now or in the next couple of weeks or next month. My QuickBooks Desktop doesn't have it. And in my QuickBooks Desktop here, it's on release 11-49. And I did a couple of updates this morning, and that's the latest one that I have. And supposedly what you're supposed to see here is when you go into any sort of detail report, you're supposed to see a general search box here in the top right. And that's how you'll know you'll be in the latest edition. So there are 3 things that they were supposed to release. One is a search inside reports that was supposed to work across all versions of QuickBooks Desktop, Pro, Premier, Enterprise. And then particularly Enterprise, we're supposed to see an improved item profitability report and a custom field selection improvement in reports. So for the time being, since I don't have it in my live file, which I was hoping I have it, I'll just show you in the Firm of the Future article the screenshots that they have. So it's going to be here somewhere. I just saw it this morning. Where are you? Okay, here we go. Okay, this was released on the articles from February 18th. but it says it's release 13. So like my QuickBooks file doesn't have it, and it says that it's February 18th, but mine doesn't have it. I don't know what's going on. You know, maybe I'm supposed to click update one more time. Let's see if that does it, but I'm not sure, you know, why they announce these things, but don't make sure that they are announced. As you can tell, I literally updated this, you know, right in the middle of the webinar. So, but it doesn't show a release 13 yet. But to go through the screenshots really quick. So there's supposed to be an item profitability report, and I don't know how sharp you can see this. That's supposed to add your index or your reference cost and sales price, which is cool because now you can compare your index, your reference cost and sales price versus the average cost and the average sales price. I find that completely useful, really good. And then the other thing is, if you have a report that has a drop-down level custom field, instead of it just being a blank field that you search, you actually see the same exact drop-down menu that you see on the custom fields with drop-down menus. If you don't do any of those, obviously this all sounds like you know, like Greek to you, but this is really useful. It's better than having just a little blank checkbox. And then we have the last thing is this thing is the little search box on the reports, which is extremely useful because sometimes the reports are really big and there's no built-in search box on the report. So I find this to be really, really useful for long reports. So being able to search anything inside a report is useful. So these things were promised for very soon, I guess, but it's not available in my version of QuickBooks either. So again, any questions or comments? I apologize, QuickBooks was slow today, but any questions, comments about anything we covered today, email me. That's my email directly. I would love to see you at Reframe if you want to come to Miami in November. Great weather, incredible conference. This is our third year doing it. Pricing with confidence. I know a lot of us, that's what we need. We need confidence to price our services higher. Come hang out. I guarantee you it will be transformational. Anyway, I'll see you next quarter for the next edition of our quarterly updates for QuickBooks Online Advanced Webinars. Thank you, everybody. I'll post a recording into YouTube pretty soon. Bye-bye.